So today I'm doing a VR to, it's actually two people. I saw it first on Crochet Witch Tarot's page, and she stated that the first person who did this was Cozy Core Craft, who I was not aware of before. So thank you to Krista for letting me know about Cozy Core Craft's YouTube page. But the VR is the season between seasons when it doesn't feel like summer or fall. And Krista at Crochet Witch Tarot titled hers Decks to Transition from Summer to Fall. So I love this tag because I feel like I have so many decks that fit this category that aren't quite like super Samhain, but definitely aren't like spring and summer. So some of these decks I do use kind of all year round. So they'll be kind of like an honorable mention. But let's immediately get started. We're going to go with first the Triumphe De La Luna illustrated pips. This one is almost kind of a little more on the Samhain side, I guess, maybe, because it is a little quirky with the characters. But the color palette I find is more suited to fall, like early fall. And I do feel like it would be a nice flowy transition into Samhain if you also wanted to use it around Samhain, and I definitely will be. So I'm going to start this one in September. We're going to start working with it. But yeah, just the sepia tone and the lack of vibrancy, I think, make this deck a great transition deck. I am playing a very dangerous game of Jenga with these decks. I don't even know where to put the ones I've done. Next we have the Divine Feminine deck by Kokorina. I got the nocturnal version, which is why this deck is in this category. I mean, those backs, the browns. This deck it's probably the closest thing I have to a soul deck, and not on purpose. I was not expecting this deck to be a soul deck for me, but it accidentally is. It tells me what I need to hear all the time. And it's got the golds and the yellows and the lighter browns, kind of orangey browns, and the gold. I'm filming at night, so it's not exactly ideal for picking up the gold, but I just feel like it's a perfect introductory into the coming darker months. But I do pull this deck out all year round when I need its divine wisdom. But mostly this deck gets used in the fall and winter. That's its time to shine, literally. This one I think is a total no-brainer. It's the Oak, Ash, and Thorn by Three Trees. This is all of the fall vibes. Okay, so many extras here. So an animal deck, if you're not familiar, and there are a lot of, I think it's mostly darker tones, but definitely those browns and the darker kind of scenic fall vibes, lots of leaves. This one I don't tend to reach for too much in the summer. Maybe spring, I could see it, like this kind of has spring vibes, the warm summer vibes in a few of the cards, not too many. But this is a no-brainer. This is an obvious one. All right, this one is in order, so I have to be careful of how I do my flip through, but the Fantastical Creatures Tarot. So this one's in order because I'm reading about all the critters. I want to know what they are before I start. Oh, it's not in order. Okay, I lied. So I think I'm just reading the book. Oh, what is happening? Oh, these are the ones I've done. It is in order. Okay, So we'll set those aside. But here's the backs. Again, that sepia kind of color with the brown. Now this I think could also do well in spring. This is a very spring card with the fields. But the border is like a brown branch, I feel. There's some greenery for sure, some water, but I think the sepia border mixed with the branch and the backings just really set the tone for this being a nice transition deck. And I will definitely, this one is going to get spring use as well, and probably a little bit of summer. I can't wait to start working with it. I don't really know much about it at the moment, so there's that one. I just watched a video where Lisa Papez mentioned she didn't like how they bowed because the book is smaller than the cards. So there's a nice example of that. This one is definitely an all year round for me. I use this deck all the time. This is my go-to RWS clone. And it's the Golden Art Nouveau. I had to think about that for a second. So there's the backs. I'm not a fan of the backs. I don't feel that they match this at all. But we've got gold. Again, with my poor timing with filming, but this weekend has been a social media catch-up. I've done so much filming. But I think just the gold alone in this deck gives me transition vibes, seasonal transition. A lot of oranges, a lot of browns, and of course the gold. But this is an all year rounder for me. This one sits pretty close to me, and it's the one I reach for when I want the RWS, but since I don't love the RWS, the colors, the lines and the art, this is it for me. And I just feel like the faces, there's just so much more detail in the faces in this deck. So it's the Golden Art Nouveau. Okay, so now I'm kind of getting into the decks that really start to tie in fall with Samhain. So these are kind of, they can go either way for me. The Marigold Tarot. This is skeletons, but I don't associate the skeletons in this deck with Halloween skeletons. They're just done in such a way that they're not Halloween-y. So this deck, I don't really use all year round. I have, but it definitely gets more love and attention in the darker months. Again, the black background, kind of calling in the darker time of year. And it definitely does get use around Samhain. I'm not saying I don't use it around Halloween. I definitely do. But the gold and black really, I think, tie it in nicely. It's a nice middle ground between fall and the Halloween vibe. Next up, we have our first oracle. It's the Magic of You Oracle, and this one is very similar to the Marigold Tarot in that I feel like it does lean more towards the darker side, so the more Samhain side of the season. But it's just, I think it's such an interesting deck. It's creepy, but not. And that but not allows it to be used in the transition time, I think. And again, the colors are a big thing. It's not vibrant, it's not bright, it's not summery. And even the messages in this oracle, I feel are really more shadowy, and I don't know. I don't really feel the pull to do shadow work in the spring and summer. So that's another reason why this deck gets a little more love this time of year. And even like Samhain, I don't necessarily feel like doing shadow work at Halloween. I feel like that's just more of a fun, enjoyable time for me. So to pull in shadow work at Halloween is just, seems like work. I just want to have fun. I just want to eat candy and dress up. Next up, this one I definitely use all year round, but the color palette gives me this transition, these seasonal transition vibes. It's the Cat Tarot. This one's fairly new to me. I have not had it for more than a year at this point. So this could all be BS, but the backs, brown and black, noticing a theme. This deck is hilarious, absolutely hilarious. But it just, the color palette does seem to lean more towards a fall vibe, a September, October vibe. There are bright colors without being bright colors at the same time. The border, again, we've got black and brown going on here. So this is definitely an excellent choice for a transition deck, in my opinion. Next up, we have another one I use all year round, even in spring, and that's the Greenwich Oracle. Now, when I was going through and picking decks for this VR, this one did pop into my mind, and I flip-flop back and forth about whether or not I thought it met this category. And I decided on, yes, I do think it meets this category for a couple very minor yet specific reasons. The sepia tone, again, I feel the sepia tone really calls into that transitional fall Samhain vibe, but also the ink blots make me feel like this is from someone's grimoire. And I kind of associate grimoires with the Samhain time of year. So it's not entirely Samhain, but it's not entirely like summery either. Therefore, it falls in this category, a transition category. But there's definitely brightness in the flowers. So it does work for spring and summer as well for me. This is really just a good all year deck. I thought about rehoming this a few times, and then I use it and I'm like, no, this gets the job done for me. This does well. And then of course, you've got the obvious reasons why this would be in this category. The marigolds, the pumpkins, all that jazz. So that's another one. And our very last one, I think, yes, is also one I use all year round. And I just couldn't not include it in this category. I think it's the colors. I definitely think that's probably the main reason why it's here. But also I just can't see myself not using this deck in any season. And that's my Hellenic Oracle. Dark browns, light browns. The color palette in these paintings is more subdued as well. You don't have those bright pinks and reds and purples and all that stuff. So that's another reason why I feel this deck qualifies for this category. Would I say this is a spring deck? I don't know. There's nothing inherently spring about it, but I use it all year round. I would never not use this deck. Spring, summer, fall, winter. Oh, that cardstock. I mean, it can be scary when you're working with all the cards at the same time, but I love how it feels. Okay, well that just has Samhain written all over it. I want all of this on my desk. I want all of that on my desk. So yes, this is our last one, and it'll always be here. It'll always be usable. I don't care what time of year it is. But it does, I don't know, I do kind of feel like this time of year is more suited for the color palette, well, as I just pull a beachy scene and rainbows. But love's proving me wrong. Yeah, I said what I said. So that's it. That's my VR to Crochet Witch Tarot and Cozy Core craft for this season between seasons when it doesn't feel like summer or fall. I love these kinds of VRs. So the more people that participate, the more I can watch. So have at her. Give it a go, everyone. Thanks for watching.